bread of life. What if I said I was hungry? Would you pour your spirit on me, Lord? And would your glory fall like the water fills the sea? Living water, cover me, flood my heart with every single beat. All you are is all I'll ever need. I love you, I love you. Author of life, speak your words so I can hear you. Oh, maker of life, all I want is to be near you. Would you pour your spirit on me, Lord? Would your glory fall like the water fills the sea? Living water, cover me, flood my heart with every single beat. All you are is all I'll ever need. I love you, I love you. Oh, Spirit, fill this room. Every heart is crying out to you. Desperately we need to see you, Lord. We love you, we love you. Pour your glory down. Pour your glory down. Pour your glory down. Let the thirsty drink and live. Pour your glory down. Pour your glory down. Pour your glory down. Let the thirsty drink and live. Living water, cover me, flood my heart with every single beat. All you are is all I'll ever need. I love you,
Just remain standing for a minute, please. Say hello to the person next to you. Greet them. Say good morning. All right. This is the Unity community, where everybody is a friend of everybody else. Okay. Okay, now that you're being seated, everyone, now that you're being seated, finish up your questions. You have any questions about relationships whatsoever, finish them up. The ushers are going to collect them right after this segment right here. So finish up your questions and do it again.
We might have missed something. I know everyone knows who I am, but maybe you should introduce yourself, Jack.
Okay, I'm his father. I'm Shad Groveland's father.
There, that's all you need to know.
All right.
All right, we do want to remind you to silence your cell phones. You don't have to turn them off, but before you do that, we invite you to make a joyful noise out into the universe using this device. So we know that technology and social media can be a powerful platform for bringing people together or tearing us apart. So why don't we make an effort right now to bring people together? Why don't you invite people to join the live stream? If you can text or you can message or share the live stream right now, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to watch you guys all pull out your phone and do it with me. This is great. Not a single person. This is awesome. This is really feeling participatory. Here it is on Twitter. I just shared it to my feed right there. I just shared the stream. Any one of you could do that, and not a single person has made a single effort to try and do that. I'm watching all your faces. No one's hiding.
Right.
Hold up your phone if you did it. Be proud. Yeah.
Hold up your phone if you did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the people that are going to heaven, by the way. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Good call, Aaron. Way to lie and make yourself feel better. All right.
All right.
But please do silence your phone now, but you can keep it on and take pictures of the slides or anything going on up here and share it as you would like.
I want to thank all of our Spanish-speaking friends for showing up, sharing their energy with us at this service, and of course, our live stream people tuning in. Even while you're live streaming, if you've done this before, why don't you contact some of your friends and say, hey, you got to tune in to Unity of Boulder. They've got a really good program going on about spiritual awareness, and that's what's taking place here today. Is there anybody here from another Unity? Anywhere?
Yeah, right here down in front.
Okay, could you raise your hand high? Okay, what Unity are you from?
Reading.
Reading, Pennsylvania. Okay, great. And what Unity are you from? Okay.
Awesome. Grass
In
Valley.
California. Okay, California, Pennsylvania.
They make good
You know what's
videos.
going to happen, don't you? After you see the service, you're going to go looking for a house to stay here. Because this is the place, right here, Unity of Boulder. Is there anybody here for the first time? Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, if you're here for the first, keep your hand up. We've got a gift for you. Oh, keep your hand up. We've got a great gift for you.
You can be proud of that. You don't have to be timid at being here for the first time. No one's
That's
going
right.
to
Don't
attack
be
you.
timid. Keep your hand up high.
I know some churches you get attack hugged from the back by someone behind you. It's not going to happen here.
Right, good.
We respect your space.
All right. Okay, it's time for me to tell my story.
I'm going to go take a nap in the back. I'll see you guys later.
No, he's going to stay here. St. Peter, every now and then, takes a tour of the earth, and he said, okay, this year I'm taking a tour of the earth, and he said to the Virgin Mary, look, I'm going to inspect all of the shrines that you have on earth to see, how are they in relationship to the other people's shrines. So he does that, he comes back, and he says, oh, Mary, you're going to be so happy. There are more people at your shrines than anybody else's shrines down on the earth. And she said, oh, yeah, okay, great. Because she has no ego, so she said, yeah, all right, great. So he said, yeah, but there is one thing, Mary. He says, look, at these shrines, every one of the statues of you portray you with a really sad face. Okay, why is that? She says, Peter, you wouldn't understand my feelings. He says, Mary, a lot of people have shared their feelings with me over the centuries, so, I'm quite qualified to handle whatever it is you want to share with me. She says, okay, Peter, it's like this. I would rather have had a girl.
All right. Now let's take this in
inside. Again, a minister's panel. So Inside to Find My God by Daniel Nahman. So we'd love for you to sing along with it, but you can stay seated. But just want to bring Spirit into this room and to fill this room with love and with peace and good intentions for each other.
I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God.
Let's sing that again.
I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is sacred love. I will leave this day as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this day as it is, go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is sacred love. I will leave this life as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this life as it is, go inside to find my God. I'll go inside to find my God. Go inside to find my God.
Does he have more light than me?
Do you want me to scoot over? As long as I've got the best light, I'm good. So welcome. We are here to do a minister's panel today on the topic of relationships. That's all relationships, from relationships with your parents, your kids, your work relationships, all of the above. And if we get through all the questions, then we will open it up and let you guys ask questions out loud. Can we get the lights in a way where we can actually interact with the congregation, because I can't see
Need a little more
one
light
face.
in the audience. That's
there
good.
we go. That's so much better.
This sort of goes with that one you were just handed.
So how is everybody? Okay, good. So my name is Syntysche Groverland, and I'm an associate minister with my brother Shad Groverland.
Hi, I'm Reverend Shad Groverland.
And this is our father, and he is minister emeritus here, Jack.
I prefer being
Senior
king,
minister, but we took
king.
it away. You know,
King of Unity.
it's called a
Jack,
shift.
looks like a Jack question.
So I guess I'll start with one of these questions. We have two that are kind of similar. And the question is, what do you do for someone you think might be dying? And obviously, you know, in our work, we're with people as they pass a couple times a year. And it's a big part of this journey. You go into this loving the idea of being a public speaker and speaking about God and doing christenings for babies and weddings and all these awesome, like, brand new experiences of life. And you don't really take into account that there's actually a lot more in this career around dying than everything else. Because I think we are in a culture that doesn't talk about grief and dying enough. And so it's left to the spiritual leaders of churches to help people get comfortable as they're preparing to leave this physical experience and lay aside this physical aspect of living. And for us in Unity, we're helping them get familiar with the part of themselves that keeps on living, that the soul, you know, the soul part of ourselves that is continuous and never ends. And people that have been in Unity, you find they don't have as hard of a time transitioning because they have a peace. They have worked and prayed into the knowing that we go on and that nothing ever ends. And, you know, all these relationships with our kids and our parents and everyone we're leaving and we feel like we're physically leaving and never going to see again. We believe that we will actually probably do other lifetimes with them, and next time our mom might be our daughter, might be our sister, but we show up in soul families and there's never final goodbyes. And I think that's a piece that a lot of people really appreciate when they're near the end. And we share examples of people that have had children that are reincarnated into their lives and they know that they're from another lifetime and stuff like that. But what do you do when somebody is dying and they may not be ready to be honest with themselves that it's that phase of life that we're there? And in my experience, you have to be very good at asking questions that stimulate them to come out and share with you what they're comfortable with. Are they aware that they're at a physical point where they may be laying this physical part, you know, physical aspect to the side? And some people aren't ready to talk about it, but they will show you where they're comfortable. And that isn't really a phase or a time to push people to step into that unseen aspect. You know, we're talking to them about the mystery of life, and they will eventually talk about it, but it will be on their terms, and you let it be on their terms. You don't do it on your terms for your own personal peace as far as your human experience and your fear that you have to let this person go. You have to encourage them to find their peace for their peace. Otherwise, we're making it about us, and it's about them. So it's really an intuitive thing, I think. I have a very close friend right now that's been dealing with a physical issue for 10 years now, one of my closest friends. And I grapple with it all the time because I know what I want to be around her is joy when she's feeling good enough to be around me. And I am in the work that would be the encourager to talk about what she feels will happen when she eventually passes away. And I have a tough time with it, to be totally honest. As a as not her minister and as her best friend. I'm still waiting for her to come to me about that conversation, I guess. That's what my intuition calls about it.
I think what you mentioned, which really calls out to me, is respecting their process, and had a great opportunity to have a prayer chaplain come and speak to my class when I was in ministerial school. And he had to be an interfaith prayer chaplain at this hospital because he had to be able to cater to any faith as they were going through their process. And we were talking to him, and he said, it's hard to see people that have been raised in a faith that have such a fear around death because their death becomes so painful for them. And he said, but when you're around a Buddhist or someone who has that insight, their death is just this easy, beautiful process. But that he has to be a chameleon in that he's not there to teach anybody anything. He's not there to change their mind about anything. He's simply there to aid them in the process that they've already set before themselves. So he doesn't come into a room with an agenda. He comes in a room to be, I'm just here to facilitate the process that you're going through. And so I think that's probably what's difficult for us, and I really respect what you said there. It's that this is not about us. And I've been to so many funerals, memorials, where it was clearly about the person who put it together, not the person who passed. It was not what that person would have wanted, and you know that. It was about the family that was left afterwards and their faith tradition and their thing. It's so unfortunate to see that that's what happens so many times in those situations.
Well, I don't have too much to add. I think what you said is really right on. In the ministry, and I don't know if it's just in Unity, but as a Unity minister over the years, you learn to, for all occasions, whatever it may be, conditions, situations, people's problems, and you show up. That's all you can do, is you show up, and you don't necessarily have a particular agenda. And when you show up, you allow the Spirit to come through in whatever way it needs to come through at that time. It's the only way you can be appropriate, because all conditions and circumstances among the many personalities of people are different, completely different. So there's no, way to know exactly what to do. And quite often, words aren't even effective. The fact that you show up and you're there to allow the Spirit to come through you in whatever way seems to be the way to go in that situation. And so that's what ministry is. You don't come with an agenda. The divine intelligence and love of God is going to provide what needs to take place in that situation.
I think this question goes along with the one I just handed you too. It's kind of the same question, but one's about a spouse and one's about a friend.
Okay. How do you heal the choice to leave friendships that don't honor your spiritual path? Well, if you're absolutely concerned and know that someone that you're involved with has no real connection with the way you're operating in spiritual awareness, they will usually naturally drift away themselves, because people that are not in touch with what a spiritually oriented person is in touch with, they will be uncomfortable in your presence, whether you ever say a word. It's just a phenomenon that takes place, and you'll notice this as well if you're on your spiritual journey. As you continue to grow in the awareness of that presence and that majesty of life, which is in every moment, and there are those who are not up for that, they will naturally fall away. You'll move through different levels of friendships and people because they will naturally not want to be involved. If that's their choice, that's their choice. Some may decide to get aboard and ask you about your peace of mind or why it is you follow such a program of spiritual awareness. And in that case, you share with them what you're doing. But otherwise, just a lot of life, making life work. Let things happen. Don't even anticipate what you're going to do or can do. Just let things happen and be aware in the presence of the moment. And you will have come through you what is appropriate.
I think it's fun, in my experience, to see how well I can integrate myself into a culture that isn't necessarily what I would claim as my own. So I used to go out on couples dates, and you always wind up with people you wouldn't normally wind up with. And it would be groups of men that were totally into UFC fighting, you know, the cage fighting and stuff. And I'd be like, all right, I'll be a cage fighter fan today and see if I could get into this culture. And I've seen a little bit of enough of it, so I could talk to this. And could I enjoy this environment talking about cage fighting? Or could I enjoy this environment talking about knitting, which I know nothing about? But really trying to just get into a situation saying, they have joy here. Can I not get myself in a place where I can find joy here as well? Because if I can't, I'm in judgment, right? And I'm in perception. So if I'm not finding a way to merge with this somehow, it's because I haven't found where they find joy in it. And that's my perception, my judgment. So it's sort of a game I've had of going, wow, this is nothing like me. Can I make this work? It's a fun challenge.
Well, the best thing for a guy like you is, is to get in the cage with one of those guys.
Yeah. It's the only way I'm going to be able to relate.
The only way you'll be able to relate. All this chicken chump talk, it's like, if you're going to do it right.
But I think it's like anything when it comes to relationships. When it fits together, it fits together. You know, there's some that they just flow. You know, it's your soul sister or brother that you're traveling together, and it's supposed to be. You know, and when it doesn't, and it's just adversity, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable in your skin, and it just doesn't feel right. You know that it's a blessed soul, and you're a blessed soul, but sometimes we don't work like this together, and so we just have to redefine what that friendship is. You know. We don't have to make somebody wrong or us to be right. It's about finding peace in every aspect of life. You know, finding a way to really surround yourself with people that support you and you support them. And there's a synergy. You know, when there's not synergy, you have to look at, you know, maybe this isn't right in my world. And I think as we get older, we demand more peace in our life. We don't want unnecessary suffering. You know, where we keep people that create chaos or create drama or create gossip or you want to be with people that just fit in your energy field. And that doesn't mean that they're less than you or better than you. It's just that you want to surround yourself in love, you know, and ease and beauty. And so it is a beautiful thing when you find those soul friends. And it doesn't mean you have to have a million friends. Just to have one good one of those is so powerful. You know.
So this one you got talks about long distance
relationships,
which I think is a good segue.
How to make them work.
So I read that, and I've had a long distance relationship. Anyone's ever had a long distance relationship? Let's see some hands. How many of those ended well? Let's see the hands. Oh, good. Yeah.
That's good. See that?
That's a pretty good ratio. I think in any relationship, the success is releasing the expectation on that relationship. Like we have this idea of what a relationship is, how much time should be spent together, what things should be said, what kind of emotions we should be having. And I say just throw that all out the window, because the expectation of relationships died in like the 80s. Like we can let that go now. Any relationship is on the table now, so let's just throw that out the window. So being able to say, you know what, whatever we have is fine. If it's a long-distance relationship and we're calling once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, that is the relationship in itself. It's not failing or it's not succeeding based on some metric that someone out there has put together. You have to let it be what it is, because we're no longer held to this 1950s idea that this is what a relationship is. Now we can actually say, you know what? I feel content with only seeing this person a couple times a month. And that's great, and that works for me, or once a year, whatever it is. We can redefine that and accept that this is the new relationship.
Once a year?
Does that sound great?
There's no relationship. That's an accidental confrontation. every 365 days, maybe. No. So I think what you said is true. Don't have any expectations about a relationship, but also you have your own priorities. One of the problems that we get into as human beings, we want to cling to the idea that we'll make this relationship work, and we want to surrender a lot of what we are not, comfortable doing. We'll do things that just try to make the other person feel okay and remain in the relationship, and then we surrender a lot of our ideals and what we feel is right. So you don't want to do that. You want to be authentic and honest as you can, and know that there's a trade-off in every relationship. There's a sharing. When two people come together, especially if you're thinking about getting married, you know what? The marriage or the relationship becomes the third party. As individuals, each of you has your own program, your own agenda. You get up every day and you follow your own inclinations. But when you come together in a relationship, a committed relationship, or a marriage, then there is the marriage to consider. So when you have decisions to make, you always have to bring to mind, how is this going to affect my partner? How does this affect my committed relationship? Because that's what a relationship is, a committed relationship and a marriage. It means we've decided to be together and work together through the conditions and circumstances of life and share our friendship and our love. And so it is very important, because some people will come and they'll talk about marriage, especially young people, and they still
Old
have
people
it.
have given up on it.
What? Okay. I missed that. What did you say?
They said old people have given up on relationships, when you said especially young people.
Young people come. I said, because old people have given up on it.
Oh yeah, old people that don't even think about it. They just... No, if you're going to be in a relationship, a committed relationship, that is the third element. Always have to consider your partner in the decisions you make, because you're no longer single. You're no longer operating simply on your own and taking the responsibility for the things that happen. You're bringing that partner along with you. And I say this to people when they're thinking about getting in a committed relationship or getting married. It's not like you say, oh, we're just going to do what we always did. I say, well, it's going to change, and it should change. Okay.
I actually had a minister acquaintance that him and his wife gave a name to their relationship. And when they had a situation, he would present his side, she would present hers, and then they would have that entity present its side. And I remember him saying, he's like, I don't know why, but it always seems to side with my wife.
Well, like they say, happy wife, happy life, right? So
That's right.
take note, men. But it is, I think the big question when it comes to relationships, long distance or not, the question you have to always ask yourself, and somebody said this to me years ago, all you ever have to ask yourself when you're having a problem in your marriage or you're having a question around your relationship, ask, what else do I have to give? It's never about the want of something more. What else do I have to give to this? What else do I have to give to this? Because energetically, when we give more and we give more, we're met energetically probably with the things we're missing from the relationship, because what's lacking from what they're giving to us is probably from something we're withholding from them as well.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody should be married until they're 37. You have to live a while to understand life and all of its variable things that take place. I'm joking a little bit about 37, but when young people are getting together in their 20s, early 20s, they should really consider just hanging out together, have a committed relationship if they want to, but not to tie the knot and get involved in all of that right away. Get to know each other in a really long-term situation, so that some of the things that you don't really agree on can come to the surface and be dealt with. And if there are two problematic for any one of the people in the relationship, then you can say, okay, we're probably not ready for marriage yet. Let's just move on and see how things work out. It's just a very intelligent, spiritual thing to do, is be awake in your relationship so that you get to know each other and don't jump forward and say, oh, we got to get married.
Okay, so the next question is...
Which is what I did. I was married at 15.
But she was 37, so it was okay.
That's right. Oh. Now you did it. Now you... Well, speak up, miss. Who are you? We actually... I understand what you're saying. We can't have this out here in front of these people. Okay.
So in terms of this relationship, a lot was accomplished in the 20s. So that worked out well. So we're appreciative of that. We happen to be here because of that, so that was good for us.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew I shouldn't have done this panel.
All right, so we have a question that says it's around relationship with adult son or any child. How do we use prayer to help him? How to love him and let go of worry?
Yeah.
I do a lot of counseling around this topic. I've got a few people right now that I've been speaking with that have adult children that are not presently speaking with them. And I'm watching the hurt and the brokenness on a parent and what that feels like when your child stops talking with you for whatever reason. But when we are worried about our adult kids, they're really, that is up there on stress levels for sure for people, because at this point they're out of your hands and you've had to let them be 18 and go into the world, and they might have gone down a journey of being surrounded with the wrong people and getting involved in substance issues or depression issues or eating disorders or, whatever that thing is that's cutting them off from God, and you're wondering, how do I help them? And I think a really powerful thing for parents that are, maybe not in contact with their kid or their kid isn't listening to their advice is to realize how much we are energy first. Again, with that physical aspect that we talk about that leaves us, we are a soul first. We have a soul connection with our children. They came in for a reason. Even this discord that you might be facing with this adult child is also for you as well as them. And how do you get rid of worry is you start to see your child in the most powerful version of themselves. You visualize that child. You wake up with that visual. You see it when you're going to bed. You hold a state of clarity and gratitude with God that everything is in divine order and everything is in divine order, and you just keep that. You just bless them, and you see them in prayers, and you see them walking in a straight line. You see God's intervention and connecting with them and whispering in their ear, and the right people, maybe a female or a male, that could be a partner that could bring them back onto the path. Visualizing that you do have power, and we do feel helpless when we are in phases where we think or feel like we've lost control over our children. And the truth is that's where the spiritual work really begins. This comes down to your marriages. This comes down to every aspect of life. To live in worry is to live in a place of total cutoff from God. It's so overtakes your system. Your pain body is literally running you. And so you've got to get out of worry. You've got to believe that something greater is at hand with every single situation that scares you, and become a powerful conduit of spirit energetically and see it differently, speak it differently, be it differently, and just be that power, and then just see those waves hitting that kid. Just see your kid coming back to the power. Just know it and be in gratitude. Thank you, God. 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 That's where I see it. with children, you know. It's
Well, I've got 3 adult children.
None of them are speaking to you.
One of them. That's why we have these panels, is
this is the only way we chat.
trying to figure it out.
I do remember probably 15 years ago or so, I was on a conversation with my mom on the phone, and the conversation would always start with everything that's happening at the church. I'm out in the world on my own and everything else, and I think eventually she picked up that I was just silent because I really didn't want to hear about the church. You know, it's like I had my own things going on. I grew up in the church. I know the drama of the church. I've been around the church, and she said, maybe you want to talk about something else other than the church. And I said, that would be nice.
Yeah.
And I think if a child is becoming estranged from a parent, it's because the interactions have not been pleasurable. And there's an opportunity to take ownership of that fact and recognize that parenting is not always about steering and correcting and judging and modifying and teaching. Sometimes it's just about listening and going, yeah, that sucks. Life can be hard. That really sucks. I understand. I've been there. Not that now I'm going to tell you a lesson about it. Now I'm going to teach you why you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you why that job's not right for you, that person's not right for you. Just, yeah, that really sucks. I can understand how you're feeling. And just having that sounding board, and that's hard for a parent to just receive and just go, this is not a time where you're asking for me to teach you. I spent 18 years doing that. I've given you all the tools, and maybe you just want to talk right now and not have a teacher.
I want to clear something up now. First, I think when people see that the father who's a minister and his 2 children become ministers, they think that somehow or other, over the years, we were putting this in your head and in your life, that you were going to follow in our footsteps. Was even a little piece of that true?
No.
Right?
There is no
If
way
you-
I was being a minister.
You try to hurt me now, I'm going to get you afterward. Tell the truth.
You weren't trying to steer us in that direction. Absolutely not.
We let you live your lives, and you came to your own decisions to enter the ministry. You, over the years, decided, you know, and then you also, you were doing sound engineering in a...
If anything, I was running as far away from it as I possibly could because I was raised in it, and I saw how incredibly hard it is on the minister and the family to carry the weight of something this massive and all the emotional trauma that rests in a space like this with an incredible joy, but the minister's carrying the burden of all of it, of everyone's issues, of the finances, of the place in the city, of the legalities of it. There's a lot that goes on that people have no idea about, where ministers' children go, I was
And the
raised in
pressures
this.
of having to do a sermon every Sunday.
Right.
You know, that was very clear. I mean, as a kid, on Saturdays, my mom would always say to us, act like you're not having any fun and get out of here and be quiet. It was like, don't act like you're not having fun, because he's stuck having to be the divine, and like, you know, it was like she did everything to protect the silence for him to be able to get this download of the sermon, you know. And my mom always says that every Saturday night he would say he was going to quit the ministry. And I totally relate with that. I totally feel that way on Saturday night.
No, coming up with a talk on Sunday was not the really big thing about quitting the ministry. I will tell you what it really is. When you're in the ministry, when you go into the ministerial program, at least in Unity, they focus on a couple of things. Number one, they do mock counseling situations where students will take on some kind of situation or condition, and they'll come into the room, and all the other students are watching, of course, and you're going to counsel this person or talk to this person or deal with this person's situation. And they say to you, you have no idea what people are into. When you go out into the ministry, you have no idea what you're going to run into with people. And that, no matter how they emphasize it, is an understatement. You have no idea with the convoluted personalities that show up in Unity, and and do things that you have no idea in the world why they would do them. And then they're looking for some way to deal with it in their own life. I'm just going to give you one example, and there are thousands I could give you. We don't talk about this because it's about you. We had a guy come in and say, look, I need a place to stay. I haven't got a place to stay right now, but I have a job coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm going to get an advance and everything. Can I just stay at the church, a couple of weeks? So we agreed. This is years and years ago. He stayed here. He had a room downstairs, and he was sleeping. And then it went on to 3 weeks, and he said, oh, well, the job thing, they need to do something. And it went on for 4 weeks. And then we got our water bill. Our water bill was like $1,800 for the time he was here. And I said, is there any relationship to this? And somebody else that knew about this guy, because we weren't checking on him, every single day he had his clothes in all the sinks downstairs, and the way he would wash them is he would turn the water on just enough so it would run through his clothing. The water downstairs was always running through his clothing. And the only, can you imagine this? For a month, this is, and he would dry his clothes in the microwave down in the teen room. So
He's
all I
not
can say,
making this up either.
I'm not making
this
it
really
up.
did happen.
And
And
I'm
he
going
would
to
walk
write
around
about
in a bathrobe downstairs like
No,
he
that
was
was
his house
somebody
with
else.
his
No.
dog. No, it was the same guy.
No, it was a different guy.
Oh, was?
So
the guy in his
microwaves
pink-
have been cleaned, the microwaves
No,
have
we've
been
gotten a
cleaned.
new
That's
microwave.
right. We had another guy stay here.
All right, so let's get back to this one's very specific, a lot to unpack. Still trying to wrap my head around it, but let's see what happens. What advice do you have for cultivating a healing presence and patience instead of waiting for a romantic partner who is dealing with the aftermath of severe sexual trauma and is physically closed off and easily triggered into shutting down?
Wait, read that again?
What advice do you have for cultivating a healing presence and patience instead of waiting for a romantic partner who is dealing with the aftermath of severe sexual trauma and is physically closed off and easily triggered into shutting down?
What are you waiting for? Your spiritual journey is your spiritual journey. So the most important thing anybody can be doing is sustaining his or her relationship with their own consciousness. And as you do that, you'll be of value and help to anybody who may not be doing that. But don't be, in that place where you think you can change somebody or you're going to
Or fix their past.
fix their past. It's all up to each of us to be in integrity with ourselves first and foremost. And to the degree that you can be of service and help to others, it'll rise as you can do that. But everybody should know that about relationships. Don't think you can get into a relationship with somebody who's got a deep-seated problem like he's talking about here, and that you're going to change them.
Or you're going to heal them or walk them to the light. It's
Right.
You really have to, what you're meeting when you're meeting a person, you have to believe what you're seeing, hearing, and what they're saying, right? And if you are in a place where you want to be that beloved that wants to hold space and you're willing to sacrifice your life for that, that's a beautiful gift. But that's going to be with absolute and total surrender and no attachments, right? But there are therapists out there for that person to be helped, to quickly get them back into their wholeness and to remember that they don't have to be their past. They can actually be in this presence. Healing is available to everybody in a moment that you decide to stop living in your pain body and living from your pain. So do you want to be with somebody in their pain and you just want to accept that that's what they're bringing to the relationship? You have the right to do that.
I think what comes to my mind is, what is my role here? if you're in that relationship, what is my role? If I'm a loving partner, then I'm doing what that role entails. If I'm a caretaker, that's a totally, entirely different role in this relationship. A caretaker would have a responsibility of getting that person into counseling, to dealing with that issue, to make sure they're taking their meds or whatever their situation is. But a partner in a relationship, that's not necessarily their role. So being honest with yourself is, what is my role in this relationship? And if I accept that role, can this relationship succeed as it is, be a success? Or is it requiring a caretaker that is not my role? And that's the real coming to reality situation of recognizing what is mine to do, and if this is not mine to do, then this might not be where this is going to work, or where I'm going to best fit. Because I'm going to pick a role, and I'm going to choose to live that role in integrity, like you're saying, and if this is pulling me out of my integrity, because now I'm taking on more of a role than I can handle, then this is not going to be healthy for either of us. And I might need to allow this person to find someone who is willing to be a caretaker, which they might actually need at this time. They might not be ready for a relationship. They might need a caretaker, which is a totally different role.
Someone taking you out of your integrity means they're taking you out of your peace of mind. I want to give you an example you can follow. All relationships between two people are, they're different. Two people divide, like people can be married, and if a guy goes out once a week with the guys, it's a problem for the spouse, or vice versa. In some situations, the guy's on the road. He's a salesperson, and he's home maybe every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it's acceptable, and it's this and that, or it goes. But here's how you understand your relationship. If you can't have peace of mind, true peace of mind, with this person that you're connected with, then you have to end the relationship. I'll explain this to you in a certain way. There's an old television commercial that used to have a guy come out, and there was this beaker full of dark liquid, and he would say, this is your stomach with excess stomach acid. Then he would take 2 Tums tablets and he'd throw it in there and stir it, and it would get clear. And he would say, Tums tablets can neutralize 47 times their weight in excess stomach acid. That's true. To the degree that you can, clear yourself and still have peace with the conditions of your relationship, that's great. Tums tablets can neutralize 47 times their weight in excess stomach acid, but they can't neutralize 48 or 49 or 50 or 75. So if you can't neutralize, if you can't get to peace in the conditions of your relationship, if it's that way and you've done your best to try to make it work, you're just not right for each other yet. So that's the time to break off a relationship. And one final thought, if there's any physical abuse in your relationship, that person is not ready to be with you, whichever way it goes. Don't ever allow there to be any type of physical abuse. You may wind up fighting with each other or yelling at each other and stuff, but don't allow any physical abuse in a relationship. That's crossing the line. Never go there.
I remember counseling this couple, and I remember this woman saying to me at one point, she said, if he would just understand that I am right 98% of the time, everything would be fine in our marriage. And I just started laughing. I was like, do you actually believe that? And she was just sure. And she also believed everybody should be on Prozac, and then we'd be fine too. I mean, she just had these blanket statements. And I thought, this is not going to last that long, and it didn't. That marriage was over in about 6 months. But if he could just have understood that she was right 98% of the time, everything would be fine.
Right.
And there's also a limit to mental abuse. I think mental abuse goes underrated in this day and age, and we have to recognize mental abuse can be as severe, if not more severe, than physical abuse at times. So you have to know your limits, and you have to understand what's just a slip up and what's just play and what's gone too far and has become damaging. Well, we have really gone past our time here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, thank you for your questions.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, God bless. Who's going to take the offering?
An offering now, yeah. Time to take an offering for unity. We'd like to remind you that unity entirely survives off the generosity of all of us, giving of our time and our talents and our treasures and our prosperity to this incredible movement that is spreading a message that will change this planet. That's why we're so big about sharing it on the live stream, getting it out to people, telling your friends and family members, getting people to be a part of this experience and this message, which heals relationships and deals with these problems. All right, we're going to bless this message. If we can have our blessing up on the screen, I invite you to say it with me. These are the different ways you can give. Join me in saying, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give.
Really breaks my heart to see a dear old friend go down to the worn out place again. Do you know the sound of a closing door? Have you heard that sound somewhere before? Do you wonder if she knows you anymore? Wrapped your love around me like a chain, but I never was afraid that it would die. You can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye. Where did you learn to walk? Where did you learn to run away from everything you love? Did you think the saddle would ever ease your pain? Did you think that love's a foolish game? Did you find someone else to take the blame? Yeah. I wrapped your love around me like a chain, but I never was afraid that it would die. You can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye. You can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye. I am a sturdy soul, and there ain't no shame in lying down in the bed you made. Can you fight the urge to run for another day? Yeah. You might make it further if you learn to stay. I wrapped your love around me like a chain, but I never was afraid that it would die. You can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye. You can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing